Mike Flanagan has never missed. The guy just has a way of translating the billions of words he has in his head, since it seems like the guy never stops working on and writing new projects. He's easily one of my favorite modern directors, having directed Haunting of Hill House, Gerald's Game, Dr. Sleep, and even the very underappreciated Oculus. All of these projects are fantastic, and as an added bonus, I really do love when directors just stick to their known cast and crew. There's just a level of comfort and familiarity when directors do that, and it's especially cool when the genre doesn't really matter and yet it still works just as effectively. Clearly, it's easy signs of understanding that a director and the cast and crew can all work together on a project regardless of the themes or subjects. And I will say, it's funny, Mike's movies aren't usually lumped in with the scariest movies of all time, whatever arbitrary scale that works off of, but his stuff often includes some of the most disturbing imagery that I can think of, like the degloving scene from Gerald's Game, or even the car jump scare in Haunting of Hill House. All this to say, Life of Chuck was definitely on my radar, regardless of the fact that it didn't really have that horror movie feel to it, and that I hadn't read the novella that this is based off of, and there's other aspects of the movie that I was also very intrigued by. The film follows the formative and pivotal moments in the life of Charles Krantz, aka Chuck, with the narrative being told in reverse order from his death to his years as a child. Conceptually, this movie is broad and large in scale, and factoring in the fact that Flanagan is an idea machine who is limited only to his own hand being tired of writing down what he's thinking, and to what his budget permits, it's a match made in heaven, because within this story he can virtually go anywhere he wants because of how existential it is. I do worry that the attachment of Stephen King's name is gonna color the general expectation of what this movie's gonna have or what elements are gonna be involved, because this is entirely its own thing. It's not a horror movie. It does have horrific elements, sure, but it's not horror in the traditional sense. It's very peculiar, but honestly, this movie reminds me of something like 500 Days of Summer or the Before trilogy, where the same movie is a different experience depending on the age that you're watching the film at. I would argue that if you watch this when you're 20, it's gonna be a very different watch than if you watch it when you're 50. Especially because in a movie like this, experience is context. And it goes without saying, it's a very poignant film. It's focused on the little things in life, appreciating things like dancing with a parent in the middle of cooking, spending time with a father figure even if they aren't sober, dancing to the beat of an aspiring street musician, and things of that nature. Tom Hiddleston is fantastic. His infectious energy and charm is on full display, especially in the dance sequence in Act 2. The dance sequence was really fun and electric, it was kinetic, the choreography was pulled right off Broadway. I'd argue if you're not locked in with the story by the time Tom is dancing, it might not be the movie for you just because of how infectious his sense of joy is at that time. And personally, I was kinda shocked at how much less screen time Tom Hiddleston had than what I was expecting him to have. But I gotta admit, Jacob Tremblay stole the show. He was so charming and intelligent, but never insufferably precocious either. He's so brave and strong, it was adorable. He was so good. I like that we were able to see the most beautiful moments, like going to a school dance and outstaging everyone. You know, having his Danny Zuko moment. Forming that bond with that one teacher that you just connected with so well, even though you don't really know why. But also we saw very realistic hard moments, dealing with loss, insecurities about your body, moments of hesitation because you just don't trust your own abilities, even when you receive reassurance that you're capable. It's truly a lovely story about the human experience and how no story is perfect or without flaws, but all stories have rich moments of life and joy. And I don't consider the movie to be extremely sentimental or sappy either. Most of the time the movie's having lots of fun. The film is treating everything as cosmic-sized issues and it's told episodically, and I like that outside from time skipping to different ages, it's a good narrative tool because you get to explore other things that actually don't have anything to do with Chuck's life. It provides the perfect opportunity to include such an amazing cast. It's funny because it's almost like Mike wanted to give each person, for as little screen time as they had, their own little monologue moment, and it worked. Kate Siegel, Matthew Lillard, Karen Gillan, hell, even Mark Hamill's speech about how math isn't everything, giving me flashbacks to Jackie Chan talking about how Kung Fu is in everything too.
Kung Fu lives in everything we do, Xiao Zhui. And lives in how we treat people.
I didn't feel like any character was forced in this movie, and obviously the star power did not disappoint. I feel like every few minutes I had a moment of my primal monkey brain pointing at the screen and being like, oh my god, that's Heather Langenkamp, Carl Lumley, David S. Malchin. Hell, even hearing Ron Swanson narrating got me geeked. And there is a sense of surrealism, especially in the first half, but most clearly with Kate Siegel's interaction with Chuck, because you can feel like there's a fantastical aspect of the film. I think the surrealist approach works because of how macro narrow the scope is, like you quickly realize that yes, this movie is about Chuck, but anyone and everyone is Chuck in some sense. And the film honestly made me feel the most unsettled I've been in so long, specifically with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Karen Gillan's last scene in the first act. Again, Mike just has the vision, and that scene makes you feel so small and insignificant, and along with the sound design and how visually disarming it is, that is poopy pants levels of horror right there. And the thing is, the end of the first act is the culmination of everything we've been talking about by that point. Famine across the world, half of California's in the sea, bees are basically extinct, the internet is down. So I like that in many ways it's the end of everything, and it just showers you in hopelessness. The only gripe I have with that sequence is that why did we have to see Chuck in his deathbed? I would have loved it if it wasn't included because it would have either clicked by the end or it would have been left for speculation about what it means after the credits roll. But I feel like that whole addition spoiled the whole underlying storyline and point of it all. Nevertheless, it's still an extremely effective scene. It's the understanding that there is no solution. You can run away from a guy with a knife, you can call a priest for a demon, but when stars and planets are blowing up, there is no solution. And at the risk of sounding corny, visually it's still beautiful. Like the coloring was stunning, and the destruction in itself was part of the beauty as well. I think it's also meant to be a timeless movie because there's little things that just feel like they're not meant to be concurrently present. Like there's little situations where there's like a smartphone being used at the same time as an older house phone. And those aren't really a thing anymore. Not to say they don't exist anymore, but it just felt purposeful. Like the way they're shown just feels very unnatural, if that makes sense. As for the tempo of the narrative, it's no Mad Max where it's 110 on the dash with no signs of slowing down. It's a story that really takes its time, and you could really just chalk it up to people sitting around and talking to each other for 110 minutes. But in my opinion, it earns its mellow pacing, and it's very rewarding because of how balanced everything feels. Plus, everyone's doing a really great job, and that's kind of the point of the movie. Slowing down, appreciating all the little things, not rushing through everything. So in that regard, I think it's very much in theme. I think if I were to say something I didn't find really strong about the film, is that it's not subtle at all. It's crystal clear on what the message is to you. You should have appreciation for everything that you've lived, because even though there's a million variations on what could have happened, you picked the one that led you to this moment. And although the ending is very up to interpretation, it's very emblematic in the sense that, at least to me, it feels like he left the door open just to show that he's not really afraid of what the future holds, as opposed to how in the past that door was kept closed to not have to really face the problem. And it's not like a grand ending or whatever, but I think it's strong enough to not make the movie any lesser. To be candid, I would not put Life of Chuck as one of my favorite Mike Flanagan films, but that's not a quality thing, that's more of a preference thing. Still a very amazing, powerful, moving film that deserves praise. Now more than ever, I'm just looking forward to more of his work. That Carrie TV show can't come any sooner. But that's it for me. I'd appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and sincerely yours, Anthony.